listening to the Live the Dream Media Network, Arizona's premier live podcast studio and online radio.
The following is a Live the Dream Media production.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Local Marana podcast today. We're so glad you're here to join us. And of course, if you missed this live stream, it will be on Spotify and Apple in a post-production format. We have a special guest with us today, Clint. It's Congressman Juan Ciscomani. You know, sometimes I think that there's two of them because I've seen him.
Or four of them.
I've seen him everywhere. How you doing, Juan?
I'm doing great, fellas. Good to see you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Thanks for joining us today.
You got it, man.
It's chilly out.
Fun.
It's chilly out here in the desert, Juan. We're all bundled up.
It's raining over here. It's cold. Too cold for an Arizonan, I'll tell you that.
There you go.
It's good. It's beautiful weather. It's just, you know, the Christmas season and the holiday season, just the decorations in Washington and the weather, you know, rainy and cold. And sometimes you get those crisp, no cloud nights, and you see the Capitol at night. It's honestly, it's just stunning. It's beautiful. It doesn't get old. And every time I walk into that building, especially at night, walking towards it, and I see it all lit up, just stunning, beautiful. And I'm just like, man, I work there. You know, I hope that never gets old.
You know what? We're going to have to plan to
come visit.
I've done New York at Christmas, but I've not done Washington. So next year, let's make that happen.
Let's do it, man. We'll be happy to have you.
Yeah.
Hey, Juan, so you got a lot going on. I really want to thank you for what you did for Ed Honey over there. And, you know, he was a really good friend of ours. He was a really good mentor to all of us and huge part of the community. And, you know, seeing you go out there and talk about him and share his legacy, I just can't thank you enough for doing that. Just on a personal note, Juan.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. I mean, when I found out, I was pulling into a meeting over in Safford, and my team wanted to let me know immediately, and I was in shock.
As we all were.
Still went through the event. I was speaking at it. It was announcing a good grant for the community. So, you know, I tried to look as alive as I could for that event, and I got back in the car, and I had a bunch of missed calls that I knew were about this. I wasn't able to return all of them, but I did call Mayor Murphy back from Sahuarita, that they were very close. So that's the first call that I returned. And I'll tell you right here on this show, man, I teared up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, halfway through the conversation with Tom, I couldn't talk. And I had to gather myself and you know, go back into another meeting that I was in. But I hadn't felt like that in a long time. And we've had a lot of losses in the community recently. We had another Greg Johnson, a city council member from Sierra Vista as well. So it's been, you know, it's been tough recently. And Ed, as I said, I mean, I said on the floor speech here, and I drafted those remarks myself on that. And I said, this guy was calling me congressman before I even thought about
yes,
running.
He was.
He was like, you're going to be a congressman one day. And, you know, he just started calling me that. And it was just amazing. I saw him a few days before when we broke ground on that, when we cut the ribbon on that memorial, that Veterans Memorial over in Oro Valley. He just didn't miss these kind of events. And very, very close. And I tell you, at the end, if you watch those remarks, I had a pause because I was having a moment when I said, I'll miss you, my friend. And I will. I'm going to miss him. It's just someone that we knew very closely and cared so much. So I could talk forever about him, but I love that man. And we'll do more things to remember. And there's more coming. Just
yes, there is.
You guys posted.
Hey, I was talking to Whit, his son, on Monday, and he was so thankful of what the words you had said about his father. But let me tell you a funny little story. Whit was here in October, and that's when I met him for the first time. And if you remember there at Ed's house, he had the big Juan Ciscomani sign in the front window.
Yes.
You know, it was great. It was a big one, too. And Whit was sharing this with me, and he said to share this with you. He said he slept on the couch every night. And he said,
so you looked at my sign?
Good morning, Juan.
I love it, man. No, what's funny is that Ed didn't even try to be neutral on this.
No,
If
no.
somebody about me, he would like get up and he's like, I know I'm mayor. I know this is, not partisan, but I'll tell you one thing. And then he just would go off on it. Man, that man just stood what he believed in. And listen, even on results, we partner. We secured about $4 million back to Marana in my time here in Congress. I worked closely with him on that. I mean, he went. It's funny because another funny story about Ed. The first time around on these appropriation grants, he put in. I'm not sure. None of us knew how all this worked. So he put in a request for about almost $80,000 for some 3D cameras for the police department. And we were happy to grant that, but others put in larger grants for construction projects and so on, up into 2 or 3 million, including Tom Murphy. And he looks at me and is like, what happened there? And I said, you just gotta ask, Mayor. Let's put in a better request next time. We didn't waste any time, man. He put water reclamation projects in next time.
Yeah.
We were able to work together on that. They're preliminary approved right now. We just need to get them through the Congress, but those added up in the millions as well, back to Marana. So him and Tom Murphy always had this friendly banter going on all the time, and he was like, "How come he got more money?" I said, "He just asked, man. That's all you got to do. You got to ask."
Yeah, he was. I've mentioned to several people that that we know. There's no way to fill those shoes. So
No.
we that's not shouldn't be a goal of anyone. We just need to. We know what his dreams were. We know what his goals were. The people that spent a lot of time with him, like yourself and Terry Rosamond and John Officer and John Post and Tom Murphy.
Yeah.
We just gotta push through and make those things happen. Be a reality.
That's right, and I believe we will. I don't know
we will.
if you saw this, but at the Marana Chamber Breakfast, which you never missed, and every time I was in town, I would go as well. I know that CJ from my team was attending, and I said, hey, I don't know if this is even possible, but if during your time, because everybody gets 1 minute, except Ed, he always had as long as needed. But even I have 1 minute. And so I said, during your 1 minute, CJ, if you can just call me, put me on speaker, and I want to just talk to the group there about where we are right now, feeling. And I was in a state and foreign operations appropriations meeting dealing with some of the international stuff going on. I excused myself. I left the meeting for a little bit and I called in and I took my minute. I probably did 90 seconds or so on this one, but I just told the group exactly what you just said. I said, listen, we're all hurting and we will get through this. This is what, he wanted the best for Marana. Let's go out there. The best way to honor him is to continue succeeding, continue businesses growing and prospering and having our community grow in the right way. I said, but I know that you're all hurting. I'm hurting. Our community is hurting, but let's stick together in this time and move forward. So that was special as well for me to be able to just interact with the group in the moment of grief, because it had just happened. And I had to come back to Washington, but I didn't want to miss that moment.
Yeah. You just, we're all, we're still just, it's almost surreal because I talk to Ed just about every day. And we went to lunch. Actually, Tammy and I were picking him up that day to take him to lunch.
Wow.
It's just, and Whit even said it himself. He goes, I'm back to my life. Whit lives in California. Tiffany lives in California. He goes, but the people that interacted with Ed on a daily basis are probably, I'll give you one more anecdote. Andrea out at the town of Marana, you know who I'm talking about. Her office is right next to where the elevator goes up to the third floor. I'm sure you've ridden that with Ed more than once, like I have. And she says, every time I hear that elevator come up, I expect him to come around the corner and give me a hug. See, how tough is that?
That is tough, man. That is tough. But he was so positive. He wants to remember him with the best smile.
Exactly.
And to go out and do the things. That's why I love what you guys are doing on this effort, though, man. Just highlighting cool things, talking to people, promoting the community. We need more of this, and I think this method of conversation is really taking over in a lot of ways. And I'm glad that you guys are rocking that. I was there, of course, with Chris not long ago. And it just feels different. I've done the radio with Chris. I've done this, this also with Chris. It's they both have its value, and this definitely brings a lot of new stuff to the table. That I'm glad it's growing and expanding. So count me in for any conversations, man. This is really cool.
Love it.
And wait till you see some of the people we have planned for January, including yourself, by the way,
Yeah.
in 25. It's an incredible list of people that are just making stuff happen. And the best way to be able to articulate what our stories are not 90-second sound bites, but involve conversations that kind of go to the core of some of this.
Mhm.
David could throw some numbers at you that we became aware of over this last political season, and how this medium right here is just skyrocketed because the freedom of Chris Collins. You know Chris over at Oral Valley Church of the Nazarene. He's been on here several times.
Yeah.
He just said, I love this format that we can sit down and just have a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, and talk in depth about things that sometimes you wouldn't even get a chance to talk to in a closed environment.
Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, well hey, I got one. I want to start right out of the gate with the caucus that you're part of. But this is a big one for me. Is the new Doge conference? Caucus that you're involved in. That's easy for me to say. But this is one of the most important to me as to control the waste in our government.
It's pretty historic. I
this is like incredible.
Yeah, and you know, I have a little bit of experience with this because when we came into the Ducey team in 2015, we set up a website called cutredtape.org. It's something I can't remember the exact website, but we started realizing that there were over 11,000 regulations in the state government that were just outdated. Some dealt with the way you had to tie your horse outside of a bank, and if you ever did, you know, it was like the most bizarre things, and a lot of them were pretty recent, but they were adding on costs to businesses. So we went on this frenzy of cutting red tape in government, and at the state level, it's a lot easier to do. Obviously, it's more concentrated, but we needed feedback from the community because we didn't even know what was out there until businesses started writing it. Like, every time I try to renew my license, I have to go through this fee and this process. It's adding time, and we're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And the things that didn't make sense, we just got rid of them. So when I heard about this Doge idea of the caucus, I said, I'm all in. We did this in the state of Arizona, and it worked. We ended up saving businesses about $38 million a year in terms of fees that we did away with in the state. So I said, man, how much can we do here? Because if there's waste anywhere, it's in the federal government, guys. I'm telling you that right now. This is where it's at. And the duplicity of efforts, the disregard for high cost of things. I was at a military base that, of course, you guys know I have DM Air Force Base in the district and Fort Huachuca. And we were talking about some construction inside the base that needed to be done. And if you hire a contractor or they give you a quote of how much that project will take without going through the bureaucracy of the federal government, it's 1/3 of the cost. So these buildings that we're building within federal jurisdiction, they're costing way more than they would for any normal business to do because of all the red tape within the own agency that is building these buildings. So, I mean, we can go through all this and it's one thing after another. Again, all these people that are still working from home and not showing up to work, right? We live in a new era. People want to work at home. That's part of the conversation, but some jobs need to be done at the office. And those that are not, and we want to give that flexibility, well, what's happening with those buildings? You've got hundreds of thousands, if not millions of square footage out there that we're paying maintenance on these buildings that no one's occupying. So you've got that, not to mention the how much agencies have overstepped. You have the legislative branch, which is us, right, Congress. We're held accountable every 2 or 6 years. You've got the executive branch with the president held accountable every 4 years. But a lot of times who's holding these agencies accountable? People that have been there for 30, 40 years.
Exactly.
With very little transparency in a lot of ways. So I've gotten the chance to meet a lot of people that work for our government, and they're good people that want to do the right thing. But you also have a lot of people that have been there for way too long, and they've figured out a way in the system. We need to look at all that. At the end of the day, guys, here it is. We are going to need to peel back and shave off a lot of the excess. But at the end of the day, my goal is to make sure the government works for the people. And it's not costing more than it needs to cost. The whole idea sometimes of people saying, oh, slash the whole thing. Well, government is offering some services that we're paying taxes for, that we need our streets to be paved. We need our veterans to be taken care of. We need our seniors to be taken care of. We need our children in schools to be taken care of. There are good things that we need to be doing with those tax dollars. But we need to make sure that they're effective. Let me give you one example again. The VA, I'm in the VA committee and the Veteran Affairs Committee, and I'm also an appropriator. So I'm one of the few in Congress that gets to see not only the policy for our veterans, but also the funding for our veterans. So I have a say in both. Only two people can say that here. So as I'm looking at this, I look at the layers of bureaucracy at the VA and where the money is going, and the bonuses they're trying to give their administrators. I mean, it is unreal. And my question is, how much of this is not making it to veterans that should be making it to the services of our veterans for homelessness, for mental health issues? So again, it's not saying like, we'll get rid of the department, obviously, in this case with the VA. It's about how can we make it more effective, right? That our tax dollars that we're paying for this actually make it to where they need to make it. So it's an exciting effort. As you can see, I'm pumped up about it.
Yeah.
This is why we ran, right? We ran to make sure that the government is accountable to people and it works for them, secure the border, the economy, and the respect that we need to have again internationally. And these four things are top of mind for me as we're walking into this was Congress, the 119th Congress, which is my sophomore year. So I'm pumped up, guys. Yeah.
You know what? And I'm glad to see that, because these are, to me, this is like the chords that we need to be taken care of. The stuff you're talking about, just blatant waste. And like you said, there's so many things that our government does that is good.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what we need to be doing is allocating those resources where the good is happening. Yeah, you mentioned something that is big for me, Juan, and that is the bureaucrats that have been there forever, no matter what administrations or parties are in play, or the people in play. And just, am I wrong in saying that's where the real problem lies?
No, man. I'm telling you,
these are just like
funny.
entangled.
So, I'll tell you another quick story when we were with the state, but I remember when we walked into some of the leadership meetings with the cabinet, we kind of walked out, and because I was senior staff, so I was involved in some of this, and then it was like you can kind of read their mind, when we walk in, the governor's new team walks in, the leadership, and then we walk out and we're like, we can kind of read their mind. Really, what are they thinking? They're thinking, oh, I like your plan, but we're gonna outlive you, bro. Like like we were here. We were here before you. Welcome to the party. You got 4 years. We're gonna be here after you. So go ahead, have fun.
Do your thing.
Yeah, do your thing. Yeah, it's like, hey, get those votes or whatever it is. But in our case, with the Ducey team, we came in making sure that was a priority for the governor at the time. And here's the thing. What I've noticed also with elected officials, no one wants to really dig into these services and the agencies because it's complicated. It's got decades of bureaucracy. It's painful. It's time consuming. Most politicians want to go out there and do the shiny stuff. Oh,
exactly.
This stuff, and this is what gets you on TV. And this is something that is not sexy, right? It's not. You got to go in there and look at this. And a lot of times in government, one of the first question I ask my team when they bring me a new bill, any kind of new bill they bring, first question I ask them, I say, tell me if this is, and there's a form on this already. I say, is this the proper role of the federal government that we pass? Maybe a good idea, maybe something that is necessary, but why can't the state government take care of it, or the local government, or the private sector, nonprofits? Why does it have to be the feds coming in? Because when was the last time that the feds took over something and then they were like, you know what, it's been good, we're going to back off now. Here you go, private sector.
I was just going to ask that,
dude,
man.
It never happens, right?
Never
happens. So whenever me as a representative here of you guys in this building, I put the federal government in the middle of something. I have to be conscious that at that point, it has to be the ultimate movement that it probably will not be retracted unless we have a sunset clause in it, which I'm a big fan of. Everything that a lot of things that we pass should have some kind of review process, not just in perpetuity. But I'm telling you, once the feds get involved, and then once you're like, okay, trial period's over, it either worked and we're done, or it never worked, and then you want to do away with that, oh, you're cutting. Oh, you're leaving all these people off on this. No, that was not in place 4 years ago. And all of a sudden you feel like this has been there forever, and it's a human right. So these are the kind of things that we have to look at and say, anytime the feds get involved, we have to question if this is the best place for tax dollars to be used. And that's when we're coming in with this. But it's not, it takes work, and it takes actual legislating in this. And like I said, some people just like to go for the shiny object, and so few pay attention to this. That's why I'm so happy that the president took this direction and put, of course, Elon and Vivek leading the charge in some of this, which are private sector guys. And we had a meeting, the members of Congress, with them, so that we can talk about what we need to do. Because at the end of the day, the reason that we've survived for almost, we've been a republic for as long as we have as a country is because we have the branches of government and because we have the checks and balances. So it's not all the power concentrated on one that just comes in and says, all this is happening, ignore Congress. No, we have a role and we got to work together with the White House. And I did pick up on that and saw the willingness from these guys on saying, okay, let's partner with Congress where it makes sense to do things by executive order and where these things need to be dealt with legislatively. I'm telling you guys, I'm big on the role of government and keeping it limited and also keeping in jurisdiction. So it's going to be important here to do things in a way that is permanent and that it's within the Constitution as we really aggressively minimize the size of government.
See, he just validated the reason why I vote for this guy. The last 15 minutes are to me, that's the core of our whole republic, as you mentioned. That's what we're based on. That's how we're approaching 250 years. Yeah. This is how we got there. And you mentioned private and you mentioned state. When we work together as that trifecta, if you will, that's when we're the best.
That's when things are working through. And again, it gives the public the accountability because you're still involving Congress. And I've heard a lot about these. I'm being reelected every 2 years, and they're like, well, should we do longer terms? The Constitution was formed for House members to be every 2 years, so you can have an immediate accountability to the people you're representing. The Senate is every 6. They get to think long term, and they've got other. It's a lot slower over there because they're up every 6 years, and it's a different pace. But I think they were brilliant, the founding fathers, in forming the Senate and the House. Where in the House, it actually reflects the immediate mood of the country, where we're at. Right, with the senator, you can take one stance or one vote today, then you're up for that reelection 6 years after that. Which again, that's another world over on that side. But here in the House, one of the exciting things is that we're an immediate reflection of where the country is. You want to know where the country is? Look at the House, because these are the people that are being elected or reelected every 2 years, and the country spoke. We have the majority in the House, the majority in the Senate, and the White House. I'm telling you, the country wants change and action on this stuff, and we're going to see that an aggressive agenda the first 100 days. I hope we can do this often in those 100 days of these conversations, so I can keep you guys posted on what's happening. Right, things are going to be fast, brother. They're going to be moving fast, and I'd love to keep you guys posted. Yeah.
Hey, you just tell us the times and dates. We're there.
Have Andres send us an email. We got you. Yeah, when you say that people voted for sure, and to see, and you're gonna love this term, right? To see the skin in the game there with you guys, like legit skin in the game. When you're talking about folks that know what it's like, if you're losing something, you're sinking, right? Like when there's a lot of accountability for the money and stuff that's involved. Because right now, and I'm trying to speak to my age group and stuff in regards to how we see how the government works with spending and everything. Right now, I would say that a lot of people see the government as just having this. They think they have this bottomless wallet, right? And when you bring folks in that don't and know what the importance is of every single cent that comes in and every piece of revenue that comes in, and how are we going to accommodate? How are we going to build it? We naturally have to survive off the efficiency. And it's so incredible to see you guys doing this. I'm so pumped. Yeah. I mean, just for, I've had a lot of conversations with folks my age, and they're like, how do we fix this? And I said, hey, the change is here. We made it happen.
I believe it, man. I believe it. Because, what you just said is so key. You said that your age group and many other people are feeling like the government sees the spending that way. You know why they see it that way? Because they are, man. I've got here, when I got here, I realized something. You've got, Republicans, Democrats, and the whole thing, more than R&D issues, this is like a Washington problem. This is a spending addiction that this town has. That because the debt has increased under both parties, Both parties have had a watchful eye over this, that they've failed and dropped the ball at that. But you're seeing a lot of people. I'm hearing that this freshman class, and I haven't been with them very long, but I hear that this is the freshman class with the most number of young kids that they're raising. So
beautiful.
Wow.
Because, and I'm telling you, this job is hard for people that are raising young families. I speak out of experience. Yes. You miss a lot of things. You're traveling, so it is difficult. This is not the best schedule for someone that is still trying to make the baseball games and the recitals. But it's a service. It's a sacrifice. It's for a period of time that we're willing to do it. But the skin of the game that you have as a family person, whether you have kids or you just or grandkids or you have a family, it gives you a different perspective. Also, because someone like me, I mean, I went to Otterbeck Middle School, Rincon High School, Pima College, the U of A. First house that I bought was right there next to the VA in the South Side. That's all we could afford at the time, right? A little fixer-upper. Then we ended up moving over across the street from Mountain View High School, where I live now. And I've gone to this, to our church there, and it's just like I'm a local kid. And when I look at what's happening in Washington, that's not what reflects my community. But a lot of the people that, when I go drop off the kids at school still, I mean, those moms in the drop-off lane, guys, don't care if you're a congressman. They're going to honk at you to hurry up if you're holding up the line. It doesn't matter, right? So I'm still coaching flag football, so I get to deal with the other teams and the parents in my team and my kids. I'm involved in the community with people that don't usually go or will never go to a political event or even a chamber breakfast or something like that. And these are the people I'm talking to, right? These are the people that are at home, going to taking their kids to school, going to work. They're not out there social media warriors or any of that stuff. And these are the people I love to talk to because I want to know what's on their mind, what's on their hearts. And all they want is just, I want to be able to live my life. Why can the government do their job? Why is this overspending? Why, take care of the basic needs that we need to, and then let me do my thing. And if you honestly ask my parents who immigrated here, I did too as well, obviously with them, why'd you come to the U.S.? They'll tell you better schools for the kids, a better job for us, and safe streets, right? Safety. So we've got education, economy, and safety. That's what, at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants, not just my parents that immigrated here. That's what you and I want as well. So why can't the government take care of those basic things and let us go do and pursue our own American dream?
Amen.
So anyway, I'm preaching to the choir here, guys, but this is the kind of stuff that drives me. The American dream for me is not just a slogan for the campaign or something like that. This is how I literally live my life and what I do, because I feel like if people can pursue their American dream, they are driven to have some skin in the game, as you just said, and go out and get it for themselves.
Exactly.
And it's not about title. It's not about money. It's not about any of that. I asked my dad, someone said, hey, you talk about your dad all the time. He drove a bus his whole life. He's a bus driver for Suntran. How can that be the American dream? And I was like, well, let me go ask him. So I asked my dad, and I said, hey, jefe, in Spanish. I said, hey, jefe. They tell me that, asking me about the question, that you're living the American dream, but you're driving a bus. What do you say to that? And he's like, well, listen, I get to go to work all week. I clock out on Friday. I get to go see the games for the kids, go to church on Sunday, do the thing over the weekend, clock back in on Monday, and I'm back at work. I'm like, yeah. He's like, when was the last time you clocked out, Juan? I said, I don't clock out, Dad. I said, I'm on 24/7. He's like, sounds to me like I'm living the American dream, not you. So it's whatever you want to make of it, guys. I mean, if it's like my dad driving a bus, putting his family through, providing for their families, college for some, military for others, starting a business for others, whatever it is, what's your dream, man? Go, but you need to go out and get it. But the government needs to stay out of the way and provide the basic stuff that needs to be efficient, right? It's efficiency that we're looking for from the work that I'm doing up here. So it's exciting, man.
Yeah. Hey, we're gonna jump to a quick break.
Okay.
And then we're gonna come back and we will talk about legislation that's important to the community coming up here in 2025 and a little bit about the border, if that's cool. Do you want?
You got it, brother. Let's do it.
All right. Let's do it.
My heat and air were in a state of disrepair. My drains were clogged. I was really in despair. So I called some guy. You've never seen such a mess. And every time he leaned over, well, you can probably guess. Now I get it done right by Picture Rocks Cooling. They're neat and clean, peachy keen, really no fooling.
Hi, I'm Alan Murdoch. For the past 20 years, I've been buying, fixing, and selling properties right here in Southern Arizona. And I want to buy your property. Whether it's a house, apartment, commercial building, or vacant land, regardless of the condition or the situation, I want to talk to you. When you sell to me, I pay cash and it's hassle-free. No repairs, no closing costs, and no commissions. If you have a property you don't want to deal with and you want a quick solution, call, text, or visit selltalon.com. Again, that's selltalon.com.
Discover the power of 88 Crime, where your anonymous tips are rewarded with cash. When you call in anonymously with the tip, you are given a code. With the code and a password, you can walk into a bank and redeem your reward anonymously. If your anonymous tip results in a felony arrest, you can claim up to $2,500 cash reward. Let's stop the silence on crime and strive for a safer community. For more information, please visit 88crime.org or call 88crime.
Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net. We can print anything on our soft vanilla logo cookies. We deliver them and other sweet treats locally. We are located at 4249 West Ina Road, Suite 121. Call us 520-300-1131. We bake smiles. Copper Creek Cookies, Copper Creek Cookies, coppercreekcookies.net.
You're listening to the Live the Dream Media Network, Arizona's premier live podcast studio and online radio.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to the Local Marana podcast, our live session number 34. If you're just tuning in, we've got Congressman Juan Ciscomani with us, and we just got done talking about what fuels him, his fire, and why he's doing what he's doing, and all the cool stuff coming up. And, you know, I want to talk about some legislative stuff coming up this year that, you know, is important. I mean, every piece of legislation is important, but are there any pieces coming up that, you know, will have a big impact locally here in regards to something that will happen here? So what you got?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So different areas. I'll actually talk about a vote we're taking today, which is the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act. This is the act that funds our military. More importantly, or at least for this conversation, it gives our service members the highest pay increase that they've ever received, the 14.5% of pay. Obviously, this is for those young men and women that are enlisting in the military, that are coming in. We're having as a country, a real issue in recruitment for our military. And this is one of the ways that we can attract more young people to enlist, to join the military, to sign up to defend our nation, which is obviously the most honorable thing you could do, and have that service. We're very grateful. So we need to make sure that we are there for them as well. That hadn't happened in a while, and it's just hard to raise a family or even sustain yourself on the kind of pay that we're getting before. So this is a way that we fulfill the commitment and we show our service members that we're with them. And of course, everything else that comes with that, right? We have DM Air Force Base in our district. We have Fort Huachuca. Now DM, we have the 810 mission is going away. So we need to substitute that with other missions so that we can continue to have the place fully staffed and the missions. And it's not going to be one single mission. It's going to be a variety of different missions that are going to be swapped off the I-10 for these, and they'll be incremental. So we need to continue to bring that. That's economic development for the region, but obviously national security that it comes out of our district. And then Fort Huachuca, that maybe people in Pima County are not as familiar with Fort Huachuca as they are with DM, but Fort Huachuca is it's Army and intelligence and cybersecurity, which is a big way and factor of how we're fighting today's battles. That it plays a big role in it. And I got to tell you, so many people that I've met here went through Fort Huachuca at some point, or they are involved with it because the central command there for cyber and for intelligence, a lot of that comes out of Fort Huachuca as well. So it's very important, not only for our district, but for our national security. So that vote is going on today. We're going to vote on that, and obviously I'm voting yes on it to make sure that all this gets taken care of. And then the border. So We talked a little bit about the shaving off decisive government, which helps with the economy. So let me jump on the border a little bit more. But before I say that, on the economy side, some of this stuff needs to, when we minimize decisive government, that is less expenses that we have on this side. And that helps with inflation, to stop the overspending. All these kind of things end up, impacting the economy. But let's talk about the border there for a second, because the economy and the border were the two top issues that I ran on and that the country really elected us to work on and fix. When we look at the border, there are things that the executive branch can do today, and Biden could have done in the last 2 years, 4 years, and just never got to it, and never did it, and actually did the opposite and ended up hurting in a lot of ways. So we've been telling President Biden this whole time that there are things he can do today to stop the flow. Well, those are things that President Trump will be able to do as well on day one. And that's going to leave another set of things that need to be dealt with legislatively. This is why the relationship between the White House and Congress is so important, because you don't try to do each other's jobs, right? You don't try to, the president, if he has a Congress he can work with or she can work with, then they can focus on their true job of running the country as an executive, and we can come up with the legislation to make sure that whatever changes that he or she wants to make, they're permanent. In this case, President Trump. So when he wants these, when we partner and we're talking about border, there are things he can do on the executive side, but then there are things that we need to do legislatively to make them permanent. Otherwise, the next person can just come in and undo that. And we need to make sure that it goes through the legislative process. So some of that includes securing the border. That includes, stopping the flow, basically, of people that come in. And also that includes people that are here on temporary status and they have a notice of deportation and they're committing crimes in the country, as we've seen. These people have no right to be in the country. If you're in here on a temporary status or your temporary status expired and people are committing crimes, there's no room for people like that need to be here. So as I say that, let me expand the conversation a little bit, because this is a good conversation point that is sometimes hard to explain in other forums, because it takes a minute or two to break down. But when I talk about the border, guys, and we know this because we live in this area, I always ask people when they ask me, what's your position on the border? I say, well, the border in my mind, maybe oversimplifying it, but we can talk about three different buckets. We have one bucket of immigration, right? This is the process of coming into the country, pursuing a green card, or the American dream to be a citizen, the way that my parents went through the process. This includes work visas as well, for ag, for construction, for industries that need it. This includes student visas. This includes our DACA and our Dreamer students that have been here for, since they were 2 or 3 years old, that they deserve a shot at the American dream. I believe that, and I've taken some heat for that position, but I'll continue to stand on that, because these kids that, are brought here at 1, 2 years old, they don't know anything else, any other country. They're Americans for all means and purposes. Right. They need a way to be able to pursue an education, work, join the military, all the stuff they want to do. So this is the immigration bucket. Now, I have a personal journey with that. It took my family 13 years to become U.S. citizens. So we went through the process. I can tell you firsthand how long it takes, where the holes are, all the different bureaucracies and the wasteful spending in that area as well. So we've got immigration. That's one bucket. Then we've got trade and commerce, tourism, the big economic impact. You talk about Marana, the mall right there on Twin Peaks. I mean, dude, when I go, I'm like, if the people that are working here don't speak Spanish, they're losing out, brother.
Yeah, go check that out on the weekend.
I was just there this weekend. Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, I'm telling you. So you've got the shopping, you've got almost $20 billion in two-way trade, imports and exports with Mexico, that flow through Arizona's ports of entry. Number one trading partner.
20 billion?
Almost 20 billion, 19.8 or so. When you look at the number two trading partner, it's Canada at about 4 billion. So think about that. More than 4 times the size of trade that we do with Mexico. So what we need to do there is widen the ports of entry, hire more of the officers in blue, the CBP officers, so that trade can flow. A lot of the fentanyl gets apprehended right there at the ports of entry. So do radar machines. I mean, all these kind of technology that you can do at the ports to speed up the flow of goods and services, tourism, and also enhance security. That's another bucket, right? The trade and the commerce and the tourism, the economic bucket of the border. With some towns like Nogales, San Luis, Douglas, over 70% of their sales tax comes from Mexican shoppers, not Hispanic shoppers, Mexican shoppers. Okay. So I could go on and on this, but this is the economic bucket. And then you've got the security bucket. Bad actors that are trying to do bad things, trafficking people, like I said, the fentanyl crisis, drugs. The cartels are basically right now determining who comes in and who comes out. And this is the gang members that are smuggled through. All this stuff that is happening, that's the security bucket, the high-speed chases that I worked on the bill to make sure that if you're caught in a high-speed chase going 100 miles an hour in a residential zone and you hit someone and you hurt them badly, there are penalties for that. So again, you've got the immigration bucket, you've got the trade and commerce bucket, and you've got the security bucket. The problem that I see here with a lot of people in Washington that are not in border areas that don't get it and they go off talking points is that they try to mix them and combine them. When we're talking about, hey, let's stop all the flow that is coming in, they're like, oh, you don't want any legal immigration. No, of course we do, but we're talking about the criminal activity. Or some people think that everybody coming in is just a family unit that wants a better life, and they ignore the fact that we have a problem at the border that is security. So people like to live in one of these three buckets, and they don't just back up a little bit and say, hey, all three can coexist and we can address them all three. We can enhance trade, we can improve the immigration system, the legal immigration system, and we can shut down the border by having security that needs to be applied there. We can and should do all three. But again, the problem with some people is that they live in one bucket only. They assume that everything.
That's human nature, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that goes back to what he was saying about politicians that are just going to the limelight and trying to stand for that moment, because I'm not going to throw names out, Juan, but we have people here that have been outspoken about how they're going to go against enforcement of immigration laws here locally.
Right.
And
that's right.
That's why, having you on this show is so important for the viewers and listeners, is you're breaking it down and showing how much more is involved in this. And the government's not just attacking one element of it. There's so many different pieces to it. And to sit here and say, that's why you're there, Juan, because you'll do the work and you know what it takes to get all of the parts, all of the work done.
Well, and I don't know anyone more qualified than you, Juan, of all three components, because you've been involved in all three.
Yeah, that's so. Speaker McCarthy at the time recognized that, and now Speaker Johnson does as well. I've been involved in every conversation regarding the border that we've had in this place, because when you talk about the immigration journey, obviously I went through it. You talk about trade and commerce, I led the Arizona-Mexico Commission for 80 years for Ducey. And then you look at the security piece. This is the number one issue for my district, and I'm on two different, one border security caucus and one task force that looks into the criminal activity of the cartels in Mexico. So I take that very seriously, because Cochise County is highly and directly impacted by it. So you're right. I've got to, and so I have a really good relationship with the speaker on this. So I'm at the table with these conversations, even as a freshman, and being from that region, and knowing that we have family on both sides of the border. People go over to get their dentist stuff taken care of, and medical tourism, and that goes back and forth. We know about the back and forth relationship, and some people that picture our border, they think that it's the most chaotic thing. It's like, listen, areas are in bad shape. Other areas are flowing with business and tourism. And in other areas, they've just got people waiting in line to get their paperwork processed for years, like my family did. So I have a lot of passion, obviously knowledge and experience in, but that's why we need to look at this broad perspective and saying we need to be working on all of these at the same time.
Absolutely.
And that's where you mentioned earlier that with this DOJ, freeing up resources that are either counterproductive or duplicity or all that other stuff will allow us more resources, because you mentioned earlier about voting and stuff. I'm almost as old as the two of you combined. And I have always voted with my wallet first over policy in most cases. Is how is this affecting me and my family, right? From a financial standpoint. So if we can free up some of the resources of waste or whatever, now we can take 13 years. What should it be? Is there is there a magic number? 13 years waiting to be, naturalized? Should that be two or three
no,
years?
that's the thing. There's no easy answer for that.
But it's not 13 years, is it?
It's not 13 years. And I'll tell you what, the longest time for us, it was to become a permanent resident to get a green card. Once we got the green card, you had to wait 5 years probation period as a green card holder to be able to apply for citizenship.
Okay, I just learned something.
That's the way it is. And listen, in those 5 years, if you're a green card holder and you break the law, you do something horrible, then that's revoked, right? Once you become a U.S. citizen, you're in, and this is the only country that I know of in terms of their laws in the world that will let you, once you become a citizen, you're an American. That doesn't happen in Mexico. I'll tell you that. In Mexico, you're not going to see an immigrant that comes in at 11 years old, like I did here, becomes a citizen in 2006 of Mexico, then 16 years later gets elected to their federal office in Mexico City. It just doesn't happen. But it happens here more times than anybody can ever count of all the welcoming that we've done. So we're a generous country. We're a country, a welcoming country, but there are laws that we have to follow. And I don't mind the process to be in depth and applications to be scrutinized. But in my case, it took 80 years to get our green card, and then 5 after that to be in probation as a resident. So I don't know what the magic number is, but if things can be sped up and we can hire more immigration judges to make decisions quicker and more assertively, and also the majority of the cost came by paying attorney fees and this and that. It wasn't even the government really benefiting from the lag here. They did lose paperwork, which they do often. So there are inefficiencies that we can fix. So I don't think we should lower the bar in terms of the requirements. But if we can do things quicker and make decisions quicker on the immigration side, that would actually make a big difference.
I love it. The stuff you mentioned, that's the reason why we're the United States of America. That's why we're in my opinion, the greatest country that has ever existed.
That's right. I recently visited the Statue of Liberty for the first time in my life. And I was just looking at that, and it's just, it's one of those sombering moments of saying, wow,
isn't it?
We are a great, strong, beautiful nation, and we need to, embrace law and order and embrace what made us this great nation, which is to be welcoming, but also there's a rule of law that has made our country who we are. And it needs to be those things existing that has kept our republic strong for almost 250 years.
Yeah. Hey, Juan, we got something. What you got there, Raul?
Good morning, Mr. Congressman. We just got a couple comments. Arizona USSSA baseball said, finally someone with some common sense.
That's my buddy Rick.
Yeah, and then my uncle Edgar Soto said, great job, Juan. Juan is on it.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks, Raul.
Actually, that's a couple of my favorite people, Juan. Edgar Soto and Rick Peralta.
Thanks
two
for
of
watching,
my favorite
guys.
people on the planet.
Thanks for watching.
Feel free to interrupt with those comments any day, brother. Just call in and do that. I'm happy.
I got you on that.
But you got
Thanks,
it, man.
Raul.
Well, I got to go vote, guys. This NDAA is what's coming up here shortly. Fly home tomorrow. I hope to run into. I run into people at Costco all the time, by the way. So if, the meat.
Not me. I don't do Costco. I pay him to go.
Well, listen. When you got 6 kids like me, that's the only option that you have.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Hey, we will see you next Saturday, though, for sure at the new Ed Honey Municipal Complex.
Yes, I'll be there.
Friend Ed.
We'll see you there, Juan.
Hey, thank you so much, Congressman. This is great. Thank you. Looking forward to seeing you.
God bless you guys, man. I'll see you back at home soon.
God bless you.
Take care.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Well,
that was great.
I guess our work here is done.
What a morning, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
I had to go grab another cup of coffee. He was so fired up that I had to sneak out midway through there. I got to hang with these young guys. They're all fired up, ready to go.
I know Raul was trying to chime in there at the end there. He had a jet. What did you have something else, Raul?
I was just gonna ask him what young kids can kind of what we were talking. What young kids can do to get involved to start making a difference in the community.
We'll get them on here again. We'll see if we can start making it a monthly thing or every 2 months. So we'll just keep that one on the back burner for us.
A bear, be a grizzly. We're gonna have him on. He can have his own show every Wednesday morning. He can jump on and
Yeah.
Now, you know what?
What do we got going on here?
Raul, let me just kind of throw something at Raul real quick.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the best way to get involved right now, Raul, is just be heavily involved and active in your community.
Absolutely.
Just through your work, through your church, through your family. Find those opportunities to engage other people and listen to them.
Let me jump in here with you on that. Okay. People my age and younger. That does not mean that you go on LinkedIn and you talk about how awesome you are, or that you just did something so cool and incredible. Because let me tell you something, right? Action happens from you doing something, right? And the results will happen from you doing something. So when you sit there on LinkedIn and post about all this stuff you're either going to do or you accomplished, but the results aren't really being seen, everybody sees that. So if you're young and you really want to make a difference, go do something. Go join boards. Go volunteer, right? Go find an organization, a non-for-profit that needs help.
Yeah.
There's a ton of them here that need help, right? That's how you start your change. You start building your relationships with folks. You sit down. I'm going to tell you a cool story. The other day I was at a function for one of the boards I'm on, and there was an individual sitting by himself at a table. And me being around you and some of the other people, you know what I saw that as?
An opportunity.
Opportunity, right? Why is a person sitting by themselves? Go to those tables where people are sitting by themselves, talk, right? They'll remember those conversations, learn about them. And you can jump in tables where there's a bunch of people. That's cool too. But if you really want to start, in my opinion, right, and I'm sure Juan will add to this, is you just got to start building relationships and volunteering and making a difference by doing.
And don't sit at the cool table.
Yeah.
Just stop that. Just stop that.
The cool table. Yeah.
Really, you just nailed it. It's action. It's getting involved. Quoting again, our great friend, the late, great Ed Honey, said to you, build those relationships, David.
Yeah. And you can still post on LinkedIn, but just don't be, y'all need to calm down around here. I'm sorry, guys. If you follow me on LinkedIn, I don't care if you comment or whatever. You can say or write me. I don't care. But calm down a little bit, y'all. You got make it sound like we cured cancer down here.
For the record, I do have a LinkedIn account.
I've never seen one.
I've never. Facebook, I'm all over it, and that's kind of my thing. But
I'm strategic on it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I tried. Hey,
we
you
use
know
it
what?
for job fillings.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you know what? And I've read this post on Facebook recently, and you know what's going to happen. Everybody's going to go on there. They're going to be posing and flexing of all the stuff they accomplished in 2024. And I'm going to just look right in the camera, and you know what? Just say to you, if you survive 2024, that's sometimes all that you need to do is just survive it.
Yeah.
Because it's been a rough year in many respects around here for a lot of people in a lot of walks of life. And we know people right now that are hurting for a lot of different reasons, personal reasons, financial reasons, health reasons.
Yeah.
You know, that's called life. And that's where rubber meets the road, as they say. And you know what? That's where men and women become men and women, is facing their adversity. Yeah. Because everybody's got it, folks.
Well, full transparency, us as a core here, we've been through a lot this last year.
A bunch.
Especially you and your family.
Well, all of us, because we're all family around here.
Yeah.
You know, and the loss of Mayor Ed is not an easy, I have seen grown men and women break down in tears.
Yeah.
Big time, including myself, over the last, 2.5 weeks now.
Yeah.
And this week, talking to different family members and people about this is not an easy, but it's reality. And I shared with someone yesterday who's a dear friend of ours who's facing this with his family. And I'm like, you know what? Someday our children are going to be having this conversation about us.
Yeah.
That's just the reality. And I don't want to be gloom and doomy. That's not even the point, because there's a lot of really good that has come out of 2024. Starting with us finding out we're going to be grandparents for the first time. How exciting is that? We're thank you, Raul, and all the relationships.
Yes.
We won some victories this year at the polling booth. We lost some tough ones this year. That's part of it. And when I say top of the mountain, sunshine, bottom of the valley, rain, and just gloom and doom, and yet experiencing them both at the same time. If you've never experienced it, it's a feeling that I couldn't possibly express to you, and yet that's where we're at. I feel blessed by this, and I feel almost equally as blessed by some of this, even though it's not good news, that I had the opportunity to be involved in it.
Yeah. And going further into this new year, right? You're talking about all the flexing and all that stuff. You really want to go into your New Year's with a resolution or a goal or whatever it is. Why don't you be one of those badasses that starts today?
Yeah.
You know
Don't
what I mean?
wait. Yeah,
You
exactly.
don't gotta wait till January 1 to do that.
Just say I'm going to do it right now.
And here's another thing, guys. I'm telling you from personal experience. And we had this conversation yesterday. We were talking about the valley and stuff like that. And there's another element and something that'll stop you and get caught in your head and keep you from accomplishing a lot of things. And it's trying to focus on the idea that there's this perfect time to do something, right? That there's perfect time to make that move.
There is a perfect time. Right now.
It's right now. If you're looking for it to show up,
that's not what we were saying, but it rolls out. It rolls out. You could just keep rolling that out forever and eternity. Right now is once you make that decision. Hey, look, we got a new statement around here. I say this a lot anymore. Is you're gonna whatever that new thing you're gonna try and don't even try, just do it. You're probably going to suck at it for a while. Let's get past the sucking roll as quickly as we can.
You got to go through the mud, man.
Just slop through there, get it done. And you know what? You'll wake up a year. Because here's what's going to happen. This is what my mother always said. You know what? You could put it off, but you know what? The good Lord willing, a year from now, we're going to be sitting here talking about the same thing over and over. It's going to fly by like that, by the way. And the older you get, the quicker it goes. And what have you accomplished in that year?
Yeah.
I got to do one thing real quick. My wife on the way in, if I don't do this, I'm going to be in big trouble. Hey, Saturday or Friday, the 13th, here at Top, we're going to have a little party. It's free. Cookies, cocoa, caroling. We're going to have a little jazz band in the house.
Love it.
6 to 8. We'd love to have you come by and hang out with us. So 6 to 8 at Top on Friday the 13th. See, we're not into superstitions and stuff.
Love it. All right, we got our last minute here. I'm going to drop the new year, new me, new leader.
There you go.
Right? If you're interested in being part of the program, the Leadership Summit coming up by Awakening Minds, we're one of the sponsors, along with Chick-fil-A on Ina and Thornydale and the Oro Valley Church of the Nazarene. Sign up for it. Go register now. You can still get discounted tickets, and just use the code LTDM. Get you and your team there. And get ready for an awesome day, right? It's from 7:45 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Oro Valley Church of the Nazarene.
Ticket sales are
almost gone.
Definitely, they're pretty brisk.
Yeah, they're almost gone. So if you get rejected, there is going to be a waiting list that's starting for next year's summit. So don't miss out. January 23rd Leadership Summit. It's a John Maxwell program. We're going to have a keynote speaker locally too, Dr. Dan Streeter, the Marana Unified School District Superintendent. Don't miss out. I hope to see you there. We'll be there, our whole team. It'll be a fun time. In the meantime, we will be here next week, but after that, we're going to take a little break for a week or so for the holidays, and you should too. And, let's really remember the true meaning of Christmas and take care of yourself and love on your loved ones, all right? Make sure you take care of them as well.
Let me shout out one more thing. Beverly and Bob Elliott down at the African American Museum of Southern Arizona is having an evening with Dr. J. It's January 16th. We've got our table already booked. We're so excited. But you can find out more information about that on Southern Arizona, African American Museum of Southern Arizona website. So there's information there about being involved in this. Come join us. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, love it. All right, guys. You guys have a good rest of your week.
See you next week.
We appreciate you so much for watching and listening. Take care.
And thank you to the congressman for taking an hour out of his
Juan.
busy
And thank
schedule.
you, Raul. You killed it in there in the booth today.
Yeah. And thanks to Edgar and Rick for chiming in. We appreciate you guys. Love you. See you soon. You guys be nice to each other. Okay?
Oh, yeah. That's awesome.